Hi everybody, we're going to start a new unit today. This one's about analyzing point of view in media. So it's a media unit, and before we start I'm going to tell you a funny joke. I think it's funny. Here goes. Why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? Any guesses? Because he was a little shellfish. Get it? Okay. So here goes. Analyzing point of view. Some key vocabulary here. Please add these to your AWL list. Neutral, perspective, and bias. You're going to find these words throughout the unit, but you probably find them in this reading here. Okay, so just let me introduce you to the page here. Some examples of point of view here, student and parent, and then something to read on page 94 in your textbook, some advertisements, and then here's a video explaining point of view.
Bias is the point of view of an article.
Okay, and goes on like this. I'd like you to watch that. And then go back to page 95 and go over some questions here. There's some main questions that you need to ask yourself as you're viewing and enjoying media in order to make sure that you're understanding the point of view in order to make good decisions. So here they are listed in blue, okay, and you can follow the instructions here for that. So let's go back up to the top and open our textbooks to page 94 and 95, and I'll explain what point of view means when you're looking at media. All right. So basically, point of view is important for us to understand because most media texts, no matter what it is, are not neutral. They reflect one or several perspectives. People who create media texts have opinions. They have beliefs, and they have their own way of looking at the world. Often, these opinions or beliefs are reflected in the media they produce, just like the opinion piece you wrote at the beginning of the term. It reflects your opinion, what you believe, but not everybody has those beliefs. For example, a TV news reporter broadcasts a news item about soldiers in Afghanistan. However, his wife happens to be serving in the military overseas, so he ends with his own opinion about the war. Therefore, the viewer, that's you, hears his point of view as well as the background information needed to fully understand the story. However, what about other viewpoints or perspectives on this news item? There is always more than one side to any story. If the reporter included interviews with soldiers, politicians, and peace activists, then the viewer, you, would see and have a chance to understand many points of view on the same event or issue, not just the point of view from him, because his wife is serving in that war. All right? You need to hear from peace activists, you need to hear from politicians, and you need to hear from soldiers like his wife. Okay? Usually, news media try to be neutral and present a balanced view. However, other media types or other types of media, by their very nature, are less likely to be neutral. So usually when you watch the news, they try to give you both sides of the story or all sides of the story, all points of view. But for example, persuasive media texts like advertisers and commercials are more likely to present just their point of view and not the viewpoint of their competitors, like the other company, or you, the consumer. Of course, they're trying to persuade you to buy their product. So they're only going to tell you how awesome Coca-Cola is. They're not going to tell you anything about any bad points about Coca-Cola or any good points about Pepsi. All right, so let's review what is point of view. Point of view is listed here in this little box. Basically, remember this: the position or attitude of one person, a group, or an agency like an advertising agency toward a specific topic. So it's their position, their attitude of just one person, a whole group, or an agency toward a specific topic. This is also known as perspective or viewpoint. Here's an example. A person who climbs mountains and jumps out of airplanes will have a different point of view about how dangerous these activities are than someone who is afraid of heights. Remember that in this situation, neither person is more right than the other. They simply have different points of view. So, go back over here. Let's look at these ads here. Okay, know your limits. Look at the mountains in the background, a danger sign, avalanche warning. This advertisement is created, or this sign has been created, from the point of view of somebody who thinks that these activities are dangerous, okay? Or from somebody who is experienced in the mountains and wants you to know that since you're not as experienced, you need to know that this is dangerous. Snowboarding or skiing in the mountains like this in the backcountry is dangerous. And do not go into places that you've never been before. You should know your own limits. So their perspective is that these things are either they're experts and they know what is dangerous and what is safe, or they are people who are kind of afraid of these things and don't want you to really do them. However, look at this ad. This is clearly saying no because it's in red, and limits in black. No limits adventure tours. So this is obviously a perspective of somebody who feels that these kinds of things, like snowboarding or skiing in the mountains or hiking in the mountains or climbing in the mountains, is not so dangerous because they're an adventure tour company. And the name of their company? No Limits. Do anything. Forget about your limits. Just go out and do it and live with consequences. So if you get caught in a winter storm, then so be it. It'll be a greater adventure. If you get caught in an avalanche, hopefully you'll stay alive, but if you do, it'll be one heck of an adventure. So that's their perspective. But what about these people? You don't see their perspective in this ad, do you? And in this one, you don't see their perspective in this ad either. So that leads me to this chart. When enjoying media, it's important to analyze the point of view and consider whether more than one point of view is presented. So here are these questions I was telling you about before. They're written in blue on the home page. Does the media text have an obvious, clearly stated point of view? Is there a subtle or unstated point of view? Are different points of view presented? Does each receive equal treatment? Are all viewpoints treated with respect? Are any points of view missing? Whose point of view is not represented? So let's look at some examples here. Does the media text have an obvious, clearly stated point of view? Look for strong opinions or statements that clearly show how the creator of the media text feels. So we use these in our assignment for our opinion piece. These are opinion sentence starters or persuasive sentence starters. In my opinion, or in our opinion, if it's a group or an agency, they might say this, okay? I or we believe that, or I or we think that. Look for these strong opinions in the media, and then you know it's from their point of view because that's their opinion. You may not agree with that, and it may not be healthy for you to agree with that or to think the same way they do. Is there a subtle or unstated point of view? Look for statements or messages that show a point of view without being obvious. Some aren't so obvious. They don't always just start out with, it's my opinion that. Some of them are hidden a little bit. Okay, for example, a TV show that depicts students involved in sports as getting poor grades may actually be just suggesting that athletes don't do well in school. So they're not saying it's my opinion that athletes don't do well in school, but because all the characters in the TV show got really bad grades and all the characters in the show were athletes, that says really that they think athletes aren't that smart. Next one. Are different points of view presented? So look for ideas or issues being presented in a balanced way. Think about how much time or energy is devoted to each point of view or viewpoint and whether it's fairly represented. So Is it all one-sided? Is it all about their opinion? Or do they kind of talk about the other people too? Almost like a counterpoint when we did our opinion piece, right? The last one here, are any points of view missing? Whose point of view is not being represented? Sometimes what's missing tells you more than what's there about whether a media text is trustworthy. Try to determine why a particular viewpoint is missing and what that tells you about the people who created the text. So sometimes they leave out somebody's opinion altogether or somebody's point of view altogether. That kind of tells you too that it's all one-sided if they don't let anybody else's viewpoint in. So again, here's some other ads, right? No limits, no fears. Do you see this person's point of view? Look at this ad. It says, I prefer to be a spectator. So from this point of view, it's a person who believes that doing mountain climbing is dangerous, and so they would rather watch it on a television than actually do it. They're kind of interested in it, but they think it's too dangerous to actually do for real, so they're just going to watch it on TV. However, on this t-shirt, you see, again, no limits, no fears, and a person jumping out of an airplane. You can see in both of these ads here, or at least in this one, the person who believes that jumping out of an airplane is dangerous, their point of view is not represented on this, is it? It only comes from the side or the point of view of the people who like to jump out of airplanes. It doesn't say no limits, no fears, but if you don't really like doing it, we kind of understand. It doesn't say anything like that, does it? And in this one, you see a person mountain climbing, so it kind of shows, you know, from both perspectives in one way, because it actually shows a person safely at the top of a mountain. And they look pretty comfortable. It looks like a nice sunny day. However, the person is definitely watching it on TV, so it's a little one-sided to the person who likes to watch adventure activities from the sidelines and not actually be in them. Okay, so with that in mind, I'd like you to go back here and read these examples. Here's a couple of other examples, one from a student's point of view and one from a parent's point of view. Read that, try to understand what point of view means, and then continue with the rest of these activities and just follow the instructions as you see them. Okay? And when you're finished, please let me know, and you can move on to the next page, which would be the assignment here. Okay, good luck.